Hi there, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Coelho, health coach, trainer, and teacher. I'm also founder of the Simply Strong programs and community. Here, we cut through the noise to simplify health, personal growth, and lifestyle, helping you to thrive with ease, confidence, and vitality. Listen in because you never know when you may hear something that changes everything. Hello, beautiful friend. I am coming to you from this morning is just such a sunny, beautiful, bright day, and I'm always so grateful for these days as I am definitely happier in the spring and summer. And not that I'm not happy in the fall and winter, but it takes more effort. And I have said this before. Everyone says summer bodies are created in the winter. I'm the opposite. I think winter bodies are created in the summer. I do my best to really be at my prime shape in the summer so that winter can just be that much easier because it's easier to do everything right now. Walking is easier. Getting up earlier is easier because it's not dark at 3:30. And so, I'm just taking advantage of this time of year and absolutely loving every moment of it. Today, we're talking all about fat loss and what actually changes in our 40s and beyond. And we kind of picked that 40s, but for some ladies, it can start late 30s. And really, it's when we start to get these hormonal shifts of perimenopause that make things a little bit trickier. But the principles for fat loss, many are the same as when we are younger. However, what changes is the attention and the intensity that we have to place on certain areas. So I'm going to get into that. But before I do that, I want to talk about the M Factor virtual event that is coming up June 16th. That's a Tuesday. Please sign up. It's all about perimenopause and menopause and navigating this phase of life. There's the M Factor film that will be shown, and then there's a list of panelists. And the panelists range from naturopaths to acupuncturists to one incredible coach. She's the vagina coach. I've followed her stuff for ages, and I will also be on the panel. And I think it's just going to be a wealth of knowledge and also an amazing way to know that you are seen, that this phase of life and the symptoms and the things that you're going through, you are not alone in navigating it. Now, I know there's a lot of like doom and gloom and I really feel sadly that there's a lot of fear mongering around this phase of life. I think it can be incredibly beautiful, even though it's not always easy. I don't want to be dismissive either. I've gone through it and I'm going through it. And so I get it. But I think the more we can really listen to what is out there and the tools that are out there, that the smoother kind of transition we can have in this phase of life. So it is going to be an incredible panel. Make sure you join. I will put the link in the show notes, and then you can find it on my Instagram. You can find it in the bio. You can find it on my email list. You can find the M Factor virtual event pretty much anywhere if you follow me. And if not, send me a little message and I'll send you the link to sign up. Sign up even if you're not available on that day because you will be sent the recording. So it's completely and totally worth it. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to actually go through 4 things that really shift. And I want to say, first of all, I feel like if you're someone that is struggling with maybe your body has changed in your 40s and you've got like that, they call it the meno belly, like that menopausal belly or the middle-aged belly, or you just don't feel like yourself, or you've put on these like 15 or 20 pounds and they're just not shifting no matter what you're doing. Look, I just want to say, first of all, take a deep breath. And am I just telling myself that? I think I'm telling myself that. I get like all riled up during these conversations because I just am so passionate about helping you because you don't need to stay stuck. And one thing that has always broken my heart is that women really so often can feel like either there's something wrong with them or they're like, I know I need to eat more protein. I know I need to strength train and I'm just not doing it. And then out comes the self-blame of like, oh, I'm just lazy, or I just always fail at it, or I can't do it, like all that negative self-talk. And I want to say, you're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. What I have seen over and over and over is that you just don't have the system. There is a system to follow in order to get the results, in order to get back to yourself and feeling incredible. I like to think of it this way. Imagine you have all the ingredients to make a recipe. So you've got all the ingredients and the ingredients are on your counter and you're like, okay, I know I need, like, let's say we're making a cake. I know I need flour. I know I need eggs. I know I need some baking powder. I have all these ingredients here, but where do I start first? Like, if no one's told you, okay, combine the dry ingredients, combine the wet ingredients, put them together. You've got to bake it at this temperature, and then you take it out and you got to let it sit. Like, if you don't have the method and you just have the ingredients, you put it together, maybe you'll get some sort of a result, but it's not going to be the best. And it's the same thing here. It's like you have the ingredients, you follow all the things on social media, or you're on the email lists, or you've watched different webinars or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, I know I should walk. I know I should sleep. I know I should do these things, but you don't have that system or the method to do it. And so that's exactly why I created the Simply Strong method and system in a self-guided program, because so many women didn't necessarily need a coach to be checking in with them every single week. They just wanted that recipe. And so I've got the recipe now, and you can do it as a self-guided 6-week program. When you're finished the first 6 weeks, because I do believe that a true transformation and to build that solid foundation takes 12 weeks. So once you're done the first 6, you can choose to go on to the second 6. And within there, I have a community support page on Facebook where I go live once a week and give you value just to make sure that these things are really sinking in, and the group is really active. It's so much fun. So that is on my Instagram, or send me a message and I will send it to you. It is the best investment you will ever put into yourself, because it's the recipe. Okay, I'm going to share these 4 things with you now. So the first one I would say that really shifts when we hit this perimenopause, menopause phase of life is the need to focus on building muscle. That changes massively. So how we build muscle is by supporting it with eating adequate protein, with strength training, with sleeping, with all the things. It takes a lot more attention to build muscle, because not only are we working on building muscle, but once we hit our mid to late 30s, we start to lose muscle mass. We don't notice it much really until, I would say, you start to hit your mid 40s. And that's when I started realizing, like, like, to maintain my muscle it's taking a lot more effort. It's not, I swear, like in my early 30s, I could look at a weight and I would have muscle. Not anymore. So it takes a real focus, because not only are you looking to build it, but you're looking to first stop I don't believe we can ever fully stop it. Aging is aging, but we can definitely slow it down. And yes, we can still build muscle at any age, but it does take that effort. So I always say to ladies too, like, if you are not gaining weight at this phase of life, that is the first win. We underestimate how powerful that really is, but a lot of it comes down to the fact that we are losing that muscle mass. And so it is true that we also burn more calories at rest with the more lean muscle mass we have. Now, it's not a ton of calories, but it does make a difference. So focusing on that muscle mass and building that muscle becomes increasingly important. I always say, I have this saying about muscle mass. Muscle is like it's such a beautiful currency, I find. I always say arms are the new boobs. I've said that for years, though, even before this phase of life. Like, to have really nice arms, I feel like for women is such an amazing, it just feels so good when you're wearing those tank tops. And I'm here to say that you can have those gorgeous arms at any age, even if you haven't had them, but it takes building that muscle. That's how you get them. So it's not only about losing the body fat, it is also about making sure that you have that muscle underneath. And so that is the biggest difference. It takes a lot more effort and attention to build that muscle, but it is the one focus that becomes kind of your everything, I would say. That's the biggest thing. Number 2 is the need for strength training. It's no longer it's a non-negotiable. Strength training as we age is essential, not only to look good
from building that lean muscle, but it is also about longevity. It's also about, can we get ourselves up off the floor? It's about, if you kind of get knocked over, whatever, and every day something happens, can your body keep you upright so that you're not falling? So having that muscle mass can help to prevent falls. They say the majority of people go into assisted living because they can no longer get themselves up and off the toilet. And sadly, I've seen this because my mom has friends that are in care homes, and it's devastating to watch. And, when I go to those care homes with my mom, it's incredible because she's 85. She'll be turning 86 in September, and she's as fit as a fiddle and my greatest inspiration. And she's going around helping what she calls her elderly friends. She doesn't see herself as elderly in any way because she's helping friends that are actually younger than her, and they're having trouble getting up and down. And so it is the best thing that you can do for your longevity. And so I would say the biggest shift is, in my 30s, I could easily do 2 strength sessions a week and look great, like have that muscle and build that muscle easily. And I was, very active with everything else, but in particular, those 2 sessions were enough. Now, I would say 2 sessions are maintenance. You need at least 3 sessions for building. And that's the biggest thing I've really accepted, I would say, in the last year, is that 2 sessions, if you want to build that muscle, just is not enough. The 2 sessions will, like I said, maintain. They'll help you to not lose that muscle, especially if you're strength training properly. And by that properly, I mean you're doing it with progressive overload. Like, you're going in with intention. You're not just following whatever workout you feel like doing. You're following a structured plan for 6 weeks. And the majority of the sessions, you are going in and they're a little bit harder. You're adding a little bit weight, or you're adding some more repetitions, or you're adding that extra set. And every time you go in, you're progressively overloading. Now, the exception to that rule is, not every single day do we feel like we can push hard. So there are times where you may need to, within that 6 weeks, bring the weight down a little bit because perhaps you didn't have a good night's sleep, or you've been extra stressed, or some things just happened that you don't feel like yourself, but you feel like you can still work out. In those cases, I always say, get that workout in because your habits are important and lifting the weight is still important. However, there might be the odd day where, like, oh my gosh, I just feel terrible. I know that it's actually not safe for me to lift whatever this 60 pounds. So I'm going to bring it down to 40 for that one session. But then you'll find, if you really focus on the other things, focus back on your nutrition, focus back on your sleep, that the next session, you just pick up back where you were, and you're good to continue with that progressive overload. So I just want to say that, because sometimes ladies say, well, at what point do you stop lifting heavier weights? Like, at one point, are you lifting like 300 pounds? Like, no, because that's just not how it works. And progressive overloading isn't just heavier weights. You can slow down the movement to increase that intensity. You can add those repetitions, like I said, or add another set, or whatever it is. But the key is to stop following willy-nilly different programs that you see here and there, and focus on a structured program, and a structured program that has big, large compound movements. Look, you're not going to lose weight with those bicep curls or those tricep dips. Like, you're just not. Those are fine for sculpting once you've lost the body fat, but at first, you want to make the most of your time in the gym and get those big compound movements in that are going to help you to build the big muscle and to burn the fat. And those smaller movements I say they come later. And I don't think you'll ever catch me just doing a bicep curl. It's just not worth my time. I'd rather be doing a push-up or curl and press or row or whatever it is. Okay, so strength training. So bring up that strength training to 3 sessions and follow a progressive overload plan, a structured plan. Number 3 is movement. Movement is no longer an option. Move often, move as much as you can. Aim for those steps. I always say 8 to 10,000 steps. In the summer, my steps are more like 15,000 pretty easily, just because it is easier and you're moving a lot more in the summer. But moving often is important it's a great way to lose the excess body fat without impacting your muscle. And this is why we don't do like long bouts of cardio anymore, because they can be catabolic for your muscle mass. You can't be a cardio athlete and a strength athlete at the same time. Like, think of a sprinter versus a marathon runner. And that's coming from me, who was a marathon runner, and in my early 30s, again, I could run the marathons, and I strength trained and all the things. I had all the energy in the world to do all of it, and I was able to build muscle then. However, that's a big difference now. Now, I'm not saying never do cardio. I think it's healthy to even be able to run a good 5K. That's powerful. I really like interval training once a week. Those are short 15 to 20-minute sessions. They're amazing fat burners, great for your cardio. We have to work our lungs. Our lungs, like our cardiovascular system is important. So I don't want to be dismissive of cardio. What I'm saying is that if you're choosing to be the long distance runner and get those long runs in place of strength training, or as well as it's just not going to work in your 40s and beyond. It's just a lot. You've got to choose one. I believe you have to choose one or the other. And I know that there are people that will disagree with me, and that's completely fine, but that's how I train myself and that's how I train women, and they're just two different systems. So I'm not a big fan of the huge amounts of cardio. The other thing is, one of the perimenopausal symptoms that can come on is anxiety. So if you've been feeling a lot more anxious, or for me, a big one is like making decisions before were really easy for me. And I find now certain decisions aren't as quick for me. I just will second guess things a lot more. And so walking is amazing for that. It's an amazing opportunity to think. My best thinking happens when I walk, but it really helps to relieve anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious, or your head is spinning, thinking about whatever it is, get your shoes on and go for a walk, even a 10-minute walk, and it is incredible. It's also amazing for improving circulation. That pumping action, that heel toe pumping action, is amazing for circulation in your body. It's really where it starts, and it's really good for lymphatic drainage. Walking is my absolute favorite exercise. So it's an important one. Move as often as you can. My mom, and I'll always talk about her. She always says, Rosa, I do wake up sore. It's one thing about aging, like everything hurts in the morning. She goes, but you just have to move. You have to get up and you have to move. And that's what makes you feel better. And I'm really starting to understand that from her, because I am also waking up sometimes feeling a little bit achy. And I just do think that that's a little bit of getting older. It also means we have to pay a lot more attention to recovery. And there's things that we can do to feel less sore, but moving is one of them. So make sure you are getting those steps in. So number 4 is sleep. Sleep. It's true, our hormones can be really disruptive when it comes to sleep. And so a lot of women struggle with that. It's often because of the drop in progesterone, and you can go on HRT to help with this, the hormone replacement therapy. However, I really believe a lot of women, their inability to sleep has less to do with the hormones and more to do with sleep hygiene and sleep habits. And when we really look deep inside and get honest with ourselves, that's usually it. The hormones, and again, I'm just speaking generally, because there are we're all different. So for some women, it's genuinely, they need to see someone and get help with their sleep, because their hormones are impacting it massively. So please go do that. But I'm going to talk about the other side of it. When we know that our sleep hygiene, that our habits around sleep aren't great, and then we're blaming it on our hormones. That's a different thing. So for me, I wasn't sleeping. I was doom scrolling at night and into terrible habits. I actually have a whole podcast episode. I can't remember what episode it is. You have to flip through, talking about how I broke up with my phone and doom scrolling at night. But sleep is incredibly important. I was talking about that feeling of being sore. Well, when you have a good night's sleep, that's going to be a lot less. The next day, if you don't sleep well, the brain fog is unbelievable. So we think, oh, I have brain fog, it's perimenopause. Well, it's also because we didn't sleep well the night before. And so having those good sleep habits is everything. It also has a major impact on our hunger hormones. So leptin and ghrelin. So one of the hormones tells us when we are full and satisfied, and the other one tells us when we are hungry. And so when those are kind of like disrupted because of a poor sleep, we feel hungry, we don't feel satisfied, and we crave carbohydrates and more sugary sweets. And so if that's you, get control of your sleep, get that going. And that doesn't happen in one night. It's a little bit of a process, but you will find that your cravings disappear. They literally disappear. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do for controlling cravings. So those are the 4 things. We need to focus on muscle more. Strength training becomes a non-negotiable. Move as often as possible, and focusing on sleep like never before. Those are the biggest differences that I have seen from when we are in our early 30s and younger to this phase of life. But again, none of those things have to be super hard. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, that is like, oh, so much. How do I focus on all of these things and get it all in my day and all of that? It's just having a system. It's like brushing your teeth. When was the last time you thought about brushing your teeth, or thought about how you tied your shoelaces, or thought about how you did anything? So you don't even think about these things. So much of what we do is on autopilot. And I even want to go further than that. There's a lot of things that we do on autopilot that don't serve us well, and we don't think about the time and the effort that those things take. Whether those habits are, I don't know, it could be anything from, again, staying up way too late, or as soon as you walk in your house and going straight to the fridge instead of going for a walk, or crashing on the couch and watching Netflix every night, or whatever. We all have those habits that I call them clearing habits, the habits that we need to clear instead of build. Those take time and energy and are something that there was a process that made those happen, and now you don't think about them. So everything that I've mentioned, the focusing on muscle, the strength training, the moving often and walking, the good sleep habits, those are just going to replace the habits that aren't serving you. It's really not, yes, the beginning, everything takes effort, but after time, it just becomes part of who you are and what you do. And that changing your identity over who you are and what you do, that is the most powerful thing when it comes to long-term results. When you start seeing yourself as someone who just does this. There is no one in my life that questions me when I go to the gym, or are shocked when they hear that I had a workout, or stunned that I went for a walk in the evening. It's just, they know, like, that's just who I am. And even if I'm going through a little season, or I have a week where those things are disrupted, no one goes, oh, that's not her. Now she's never going to work out again. It's not going to work out for her. Like, they don't, because it's become part of my identity. And that is a huge mindset shift. I wasn't going to talk about that one, but just snuck that one in for you. Okay, my friends, have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I will see you next week.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I know time is precious, and I'm grateful you shared yours with me. It would mean the world to me if you felt an impact, a moment of inspiration, or learned something new. If you would share it with those you care about and leave me a review on iTunes. I'd love to know what spoke to you or what you'd like to hear more of. Your sharing and leaving a review would help so much on this journey to making an impact on as many people as possible. It's worth it. I know from experience, there are moments when something we hear has the possibility of changing everything.